This is the voice of Agrat, and you are listening to the Love Potion podcast with TDavy and Billycakes.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's Billycakes along with TDavy back for the, what are we on, 7th episode of the Love Potion podcast. Today is pretty exciting. We've got a lengthy interview with NLT coming. We've got a lot of questions from the fans, from us, from our team, so it should be a fun time. Davey, are you excited?
I am. Obviously, we are recording this pre-Christmas. It is December the 14th. Billy, most important question. Have you done all your Christmas shopping?
Yes, because I'm only Christmas shopping for my wife. We don't usually do a lot of gifts this year. It's more about, spending time with family, eat, drink, and be merry, as I said in the last episode. Gifts, once you reach a certain age as an adult, it's like, are you buying crap for people that they're never going to use or toss later? Especially when you have disposable income, you can just buy what you want when you want it. What about you?
There's only one person I haven't bought for, and that is my partner.
Well, that's a good start.
I know, right? I know. I've done my mum, I've done my dad, I've done my cousin and her 2 kids, because we always do that on that side of the family. And I know my partner's done all of hers, like including mine, and I know how many I've got. So I know how many I've got to buy her.
I've been told I'm not getting any Lego this year, and that makes me sad.
Did you at least get like a Lego advent calendar? Because I got a Pokemon one, and as you've seen in my Discord, my partner got a Lego one.
I have seen. I used to buy a few of the advent calendars, but I kind of found them like outside of the exclusive minifigures you get, like kind of underwhelming.
Right.
But again, like if you like them, it's cool. The exclusive minifigures are really neat, usually, particularly the Star Wars games, or the Star Wars games. The Star Wars advent calendars usually have an exclusive minifigure in them to, make people want to buy them.
Well, my partner got the Harry Potter one. She got Aragog today, the spider, and then she was like, "Oh, I can go put it with Hagrid's hut because that makes sense." So yeah,
absolutely.
I think what you do with your minifigures, you just add them to the sets where they make sense.
Yeah, if you have a display going, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a huge thing for both of us. We're quite big fans of Lego, you and I. I've been trying to sell a lot of mine over the past few months, and I've been successful in offloading some of them.
Yeah.
But I still have quite an abundance to go through just to fund other things.
Exactly. Pokemon cards.
No, not
hockey cards.
For me. Hockey cards, no. Maybe expensive beer.
Craft beer.
Or to a bathroom renovation. That's something I want done. So slowly squirreling away for those.
Slowly working your way to it, eh?
Yeah, I mean it's expensive to do anything on a house, which is really annoying. So like you have to really save for it. That's all I got to say. Like it's just kind of a pain.
Yes, I know what you mean. That's very good. We also got another advent calendar because of my mum bought an advent calendar for the cats, and every single one of the days is like a full packet of treats. I don't think we're gonna have to buy treats for them for the rest of the year. And nice. Today they got a bag of catnip, and it was quite fun to watch them have a little bit of catnip on the floor.
Just ODing on catnip.
They were just rolling around.
I don't have a problem, man.
Yes, exactly. One last very important question for Christmas.
Yeah.
What's going to be on your dinner table? What food?
Very good question. It's going to be turkey.
Traditional.
Turkey, mashed potatoes, sourdough buns, peas, carrots, parsnip, and
I hate parsnips. So passion.
And gravy as well.
No sprouts?
I could do Brussels sprouts, but I'll have my in-laws over, so I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
I love Brussels sprouts. They're fantastic.
I mean, it's years of being a chef. I'm done at prepping Brussels sprouts.
What's the best way to prep Brussels sprouts?
Get someone else to do it. I've done bags and bags and bags of them. Shout out to all of you who work in the catering industry going into the Christmas, and the amount of potatoes you got to peel, the amount of Brussels sprouts and carrots you got to prep. Trust me, I've been there. I've done it. It's awful. If you're going out for Christmas dinner, tip. Please tip. I know I'm British. Tip as well. People don't want to be working on Christmas. Trust me, I've done it many a time. So yeah, there's also a reason why Christmas dinner is so expensive, because no one wants to be there. Effectively, is what that is. I think we've got some turkey for Christmas, and then because I'm a bit of a fancy boy, I'm also getting a 2-bone 4-rib of beef, which it basically is ribeye with the bones on it and all of the trimmings go with it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be roasting. I'm cooking this year for the first time in a while. A family tradition, which is very odd, right? Is we used to have at my parents' a takeaway Indian. We get it the night before, cool it down, and then reheat it for Christmas, because there was no cooking, no prep, and no washing up. We just have like a nice Indian curry instead.
If it tastes good and you enjoy it, that's all that matters.
Exactly. We probably should move on from the talk of food. We've probably just made our audience very hungry. I hope you guys have still got snacks left over from Christmas. You're still making your way through that. Or you're incredibly hungover still from New Year's Eve. We have a message from Boss Man. He's ready. Should we get him on for the interview?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, we are now joined by Boss Man himself. So welcome on, NLT. How are you?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing very well. We were just discussing food on the Christmas table. You were just giving us a little bit of a preview. Do you want to tell the community how planned you are for Christmas this year?
Well, I will say that I'm hosting Christmas at my house, and so I should be ready, but I am not. I have literally done zero preparation, zero decorations, zero Christmas shopping, and zero preparation for food. And I'm going on a trip at the end of the week, so I've got a short timeline to figure that out.
Have you done like Christmas shopping done? Like presents?
Maybe I'll hop onto Amazon right now and be slightly distracted.
How do you find gift giving? Is it annoying for you? Do you like to do it?
If it's a gift giving to somebody like under the age of 12, I'm on point. If it's for an adult, I'm like lost. Normally chocolates. One of my older nieces who's in college, give her money. You know, but yeah, buying stuff for kids is so much more fun.
Yeah, Davey and I were actually just talking about it. You can just get them a Lego set and you're good.
Yeah, I normally try to get something like a remote control car or a drone or something, because on Christmas Day, like I secretly also want to play with it. It's like, let's open the gifts and let's get the batteries out and let's like see what all this stuff does. So I might go that route again this year.
Is it cold where you are for Christmas, or is it warm enough to be outside?
It could be anywhere from like 20 degrees to 80. It's just random. Like right now it's like 31 degrees Fahrenheit outside, or it's almost freezing or below freezing. But yesterday it was like 70. So in Celsius, I don't know what that is. It's like 6 and minus 29. I don't know, but it's in Fahrenheit, in American units. Yeah, it's 32 is freezing, and it's like just barely over freezing right now, like 38, something like that. And then yesterday it was like, if you had a convertible, you'd want to be driving it. So
I have a convertible, and I was driving it yesterday, but I've got the hardtop on, and I had to drive to my mum's, which is like an hour and a half away. And it's been sat for about a month, so there was so much condensation inside. It was dripping off the roof onto me while I was driving.
I've had that happen before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big convertible fan. My entire life, my very first car was a convertible. My second car was a convertible. My third was a convertible. Fourth was convertible. I've owned I've owned so many convertibles. It's like that's the only type of car I purchase.
I saw an S2000 yesterday and thought of you. They're such a nice
Oh
car.
yeah, I've had 3 of those.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's probably my favorite car of all time. I mean, obviously it's not my dream car or anything, but overall, as an ownership experience, the S2000 is like I'm emotionally connected to that car.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. So you're hosting Christmas. Is it gonna be a big Christmas or are you a low key Christmas?
Low key, pretty much. Well, I have my brother and his family over, and my parents over, and then at probably about 5, everyone will go home, and I'll get back to work.
I was just going to say, are you going to be working on Christmas? Because I'm sure the fans are a little curious about that.
I work every Christmas. I mean, but what is I quote unquote work.
Mhm.
I love what I do so much. It's hard to call it work. It's like what else would I do? Watch a movie? Nah.
So, for working on Christmas, what does that look like for you in terms of what you're focused on that day? Is it something specific? Do you have it mapped out, or
Yeah.
you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants?
I usually map my schedule out anywhere from 3 to 6 months in advance. So
Mhm.
I can look at my calendar right now and know what will I be doing Christmas Day. I will be hopefully getting the beta ready for chapter 18.
Nice. Merry Christmas to the beta testers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could shift. What I usually do is I map out my calendar, but I leave days open knowing that,
Mhm.
you know, you're not always going to finish things on time. Something else might get in the way. And then what I do is I'll shift all the dates into those empty slots whenever I, miss a date. So,
Mhm.
but it'll probably be either video editing or getting the beta ready. It'll be one of
Nice.
those 2 things.
Now, for a more kind of specific question, back on our opening episode of this podcast, which you've been doing for now 6 months, which is pretty cool to think about. You talked about the process for creating the games evolving as things wore on. Has the team overall now settled into a pretty good system for Symphony of the Serpent, in your opinion, or do you think there's still things to work on?
Yeah, I think we've settled into a really good system. Um, yeah, in the last 6 months, I guess the things that have changed is I think Jarrell and Ramsey and me are all on the same page a lot more than we were 6 months ago. And I feel a lot more comfortable, kind of letting them kind of go their own way with
Hmm.
stuff. And I'm a little more hands off now. I'm still the one kind of storyboarding the sex scenes and the story scenes and stuff with the help of the story group. But upcoming in chapter 18, which will release on January 2nd, there's going to be a fight scene um, with a handful of characters, and that'll be completely created by Ramsey. And he was even, a part of coming up with the dialogue as well. So it's kind of almost fully his own project. Apart from there's a certain person who has to win the fight, and I said make it cool. And so the dialogue, the animations, everything, it's going to be, it's going to be all him.
That must be like a real big shift for you because obviously you've done Ellie, Ton, and TDO pretty much on your own. Obviously, you had a story group there to assist you. Has it been like a big head switch for you to get comfortable with working with other people, like doing these projects?
Yeah, it was difficult for me to kind of make peace with the idea of not doing everything. Um,
Mhm.
but it's been really great. Um, Getting over the hump of trying to teach someone the process, the vision and stuff, and now that we have team members that are just kind of like everyone is, self-managing, on point, everyone's on time. It's like everything is flowing so smoothly. And everyone involved in the project is is clearly passionate about it and is clearly bringing their A game to it without me having to, chime in every 2 minutes and say, "Oh, this isn't good enough, and we need to do this." It's like I can trust everybody at this point. So yeah, things are really smoothly. They're going really smooth, and I wasn't sure that I would ever be able to get to this point. Um, as a someone who started this process doing everything himself,
Mhm.
it was a tough pill to swallow to think other people could do what I do. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm so glad I'm come around to the other side and can now work with a team of people.
Now, with that being said, are you looking towards possibly expanding your team further? And if so, are you looking for a specific skill set to add?
Um, it's hard to say right now.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm always open to the idea of someone with a certain skill set saying, "Hey, you know what? I could do this for you." I'm like, "You know what? You're right. You could do that for me." As of right now, I can't think of what that would be, but
Mm.
I am always open to hearing suggestions. Yeah, we're just moving so smoothly right now. I can't think of any gap in our team. But, I'm open to suggestions.
You say you love your job and what you do. Do you have a favorite part of the process? And do you have like a part of the process that I don't know, takes you a little bit longer to get out of bed in the morning because you got to do that?
There's different okay, I like to animate, and I think that's probably my favorite part of the process because when you're animating, it's like your brain is almost shut off. Everything is kind of on automatic mode, and it's like you're in a flow. Um, the creative choices are kind of already made in the storyboarding process, so you're just trying to make something that you already came up with the idea. You're just trying to make it look as good as possible, and that focusing on that type of a task is kind of my thing. I really like that. Probably the most difficult part is writing for me. I absolutely enjoy having written, but the writing process is
Mm.
so it's sometimes it's like it hurts my brain. It's like I'll write myself into a corner and be like, oh, do I need to go back and change something? And then sometimes everything's flowing great. Like, oh, I just write, and all of a sudden, boom, it's just like this writer's block. And then like to get
Mhm.
over the writer's block, you're almost literally banging your head against the wall. Trying to figure out what's going to happen next. How should this conversation take place? Did you take a wrong turn somewhere and you have to go back and redo something? Um, that kind of stuff can get. And then that wasn't my first. I'm not a trained writer. I didn't. I've been doing 3D animation since the 90s, right? So that's easy for me at this point. But writing is something I've only done in the last 5 or 6 years. Um,
Mm.
I'm still learning. I'm sure maybe 10 years from now I'll be able to be just as smooth with it. Like, oh yeah, I know what to do. Just write it like the same way I am with the animation portion. But yeah, for now, um, writing is anywhere from a smooth, enjoyable process to a bang my head against the wall and uh, have to just sit there and feel unproductive for 2 hours while I just do nothing but think. Uh, but hopefully, in the end, it's all worth it, and all the complex interconnectedness of the world, which I try so hard to maintain, that people appreciate all that.
Now, with animating, the way in which those are presented is, uh, you know, through the graphics of the game and the capability of the engine you use. There's been lots of comments about why they're not in 4K and the frame rate and all that kind of stuff. I have my own personal opinions on that. I essentially I'm not fussed, but can you offer any form of explanation as to why we don't get 4K, if it's possible, whatever? Just talk to the game's visuals, because I mean, one of the things that drew me to your stuff when I found your content was how striking the visuals were, and I still find them the same, but people want more.
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably be the one aspect of the game that I've wanted most to find a way to address is the resolution of the game. The game's in HD, not full HD, just HD, which is a pretty old standard at this point. The benefits to doing that is one, the production process of the visuals is significantly faster. It works on a broader range of devices, so I kind of feel like, you know, the audience that I kind of find are people with very, like, if your computer is ancient or your phone is ancient, although when it comes to phones, don't be too ancient, the game will run pretty well. And I kind of feel like I kind of have to be aware and you know, cater to those people while still trying to find a way to up the visuals. And my thought with that was to have like an HD version or a full HD or a 4K version of the game, which we've kind of started to do. Like with Symphony of the Serpent, if you want 4K visuals for the cutscenes, that's an optional that's an optional download package. As we've been providing that for a few months now, and I kind of want to do that for the other games too. That's kind of like an easy step. Is like we can use AI to upscale the cutscene visuals. A step further is I would like the gameplay itself to be AI upscaled from 720p to 4K or 1440p. Well, it's not actually 720p; it's 768p. So 768p to the equivalent 1440p, mathematically, whatever that works out to. But that's something that I know should be technically possible to give people with, you know, modern phones or decent computers an option to play the game at a resolution that's higher. So yeah, it's been in the back of my mind and I've wanted to do it, but there's a lot of other stuff I want to do too, and we're still working on I think right now when it comes to like translation, getting the German translation up to snuff. The video player for Symphony of the Serpent has been bugging out on certain computers, and we've been trying to diagnose that for months. And so that is still an ongoing process.
Yep.
Once that's done, there's the idle animations in the game. I want to make those smoother, which is on my to-do list, but it's just there's other things ahead of it. There's so many little things that I want to do. Symphony of the Serpent still needs a lot of polish. The whole fighting system needs to be re-looked at. So that's going to take priority over a high resolution version. And then once we get all that done, that'll probably be time for bonus content for Symphony of the Serpent. And what is that going to look like? Probably another puzzle game for, you know, because that type of thing would be, you know, it wouldn't be difficult to add. And if people, you know, for the people who enjoy that, would I prioritize that over the high resolution stuff? Maybe. Maybe that's something for a poll, like put out a poll. Would you rather, when it comes to the bonus content for Symphony of the Serpent, would you rather have puzzle games or would you rather have an upscaled 1440p version of the game? Maybe it'll come to that point. But yeah, there's just so much going on.
It also depends on like the resources of the team, right? Because you could set aside a puzzle builder like you did for TGO, get me to go away and find some people to do it while you work on something else. That's like something that I do. I wanted to circle back to the graphic stuff because you were talking in VIP, I think it was, or creators chat, you were talking a little bit more technical with Ramsey. You were saying you were doing, is it 90 seconds of render per frame or something?
Typically, yeah, I mean, right now, the quality that I'm aiming for, and it kind of depends on the scene, but on average, if I'm rendering with one of my 4090 computers, I'll do 90 seconds per frame. If I'm rendering with my older 3090 computer, I'll render at like 120 seconds per frame, or roughly speaking. It kind of just depends on the. There's some scenes that where the lighting is so complex that even on the more advanced computers, it needs like 200 seconds per frame, or sometimes even more. And the thing is if you don't give enough time to a frame, the frame will be noisy.
Yeah.
And in the other games, like I normally I prioritize having good lighting and good visuals over a clean render. And people probably have noticed that, where my
Yes.
renders tend to have noise. I kind of look at it as like it's an artistic choice. It's like when you watch a movie that's filmed with film versus digital film. Film is going to have a noisy look.
Mhm.
Do you like that look? Ideally, in an ideal world, I would have like a supercomputer and there'd be no noise. But I do have to strike a balance between. I'm normally very picky about the lighting in my scenes. I never want to have a scene that has bad lighting. And normally, if I can, I'll push the lighting as much as humanly possible, and then the render times are just ballooned to an insane amount. And you can always reduce the render times, but then your images are going to be more and more noisy. We found methods to reduce the noise in Symphony of the Serpent. So Symphony of the Serpent still has noise from time to time, but compared to Treasure of Nadia and the Genesis Order and Treasure of Nadia had a lot of very noisy frames because being so concerned with the look of the lighting and knowing that, well, I don't have 4 months to render this one scene, so it's going to be a little noisy, but I'm willing to accept that because I want the lighting to look good. So it's, you pick your poison, I guess.
Yeah.
When it comes to that.
That also takes time as well, right? And then if you went into if you wanted to do the 4K, the 4K is one higher strain
Oh,
than
yeah.
all of your actual hardware. And talking to Garrett, the new series of video cards is not supported yet on DAS.
Is it not? And I'm actually shocked it's not supported yet. I assumed it would take them a while, but I thought by now they would. But yeah, I'm hesitant to upgrade to a 5090 too soon because I want all the kinks to be worked out. Because I got on the 4090 bandwagon pretty early, and DAS's compatibility, it's fine now. I fixed it, but like, man, it would crash all the time. And it's like, well, the 3090 computer is like, yeah, it's a slower card, but I don't have to reboot the computer every 2 hours. So it's like, but the 4090 now is running smooth, and now that it's running smooth and everything's perfect, it's like I don't want to touch it. But at the same time, I get a 5090 and get that system working, then that noise reduction is going to be even better. So I probably will look into that. But from what you just said, apparently it's not even ready yet. So
yeah, well, apparently it's not. That's the annoying thing. And every single conversation we've had with Joriel and then even Ramsey, DAS Studios come up, also Sumatra, and they've all had their own little bugbears with DAS Studio. It's not an animation software first and foremost, and we know that. I'm sure Ramsey's what he got used to in the TV industry and what he has to deal with now is probably a whole different world for him. And he's probably could just do this, and I wish I could do that, but he can't. Do you have a bugbear with DAS Studio? Is there anything that like you're just like, I wish the devs would do this?
Oh yeah, I almost. There's been times I've thought about reaching out to them and saying, "Can I get a meeting with y'all? Because I have some ideas."
They might do that,
Like, okay, so here's a major flaw with DAS. If you are getting into DAS, everything's fine at first because you don't really own much, right? You're downloading the software, you have the generic character, you might download an outfit or two or whatever, and everything's running smooth, everything's running fine. But the more you buy, the slower it gets. And you don't really notice because you have to buy thousands of things before it starts to become a problem. But every time you buy a morph or you buy something that changes the character, it has to load that into memory, not when you load the software. It has to load into memory every time you change the frame, which drives me nuts. So we've had to develop a process because me and the whole team now, we've spent we have a ton of stuff for DAS, like a ton of stuff. And if we load all of it while we're trying to, basically the frame rate drops down to 1 frame every 5 seconds. It's insane. But if you strip away all that stuff that we added, which Daz has no way to do that, but we, spoiler alert, we figured it out. But Daz has no way to do that. So you basically you're punished for buying stuff from Daz. It's like your animation and your entire experience working with Daz, the more stuff you buy from them, the more punishing the experience is. I'm like, why did they do that? Like, certainly there must be a way for them to figure out a way to keep all the morphs. Go ahead, buy 10,000 morphs if you want, and it'll just run as smooth as butter every time. So what we've basically come up with a method of, we keep track of the morphs that each character needs to give the look that, so it looks like the character, and then we strip out everything else. But that's a manual process. There's no automated process to do that. So basically we have multiple folder structures, and the other guys probably have their own way of doing it. The way I do it is I created these batch files, which will basically, it'll delete all the morphs in the program, and then refill it based on the different files you run with the characters you need, reload those morphs, and then when you're done, you can click a button and it'll restore all the old morphs back. So from a creative standpoint, when you're creating a new character or whatever, you need all those morphs because you don't know what you're going to use, what you're not going to use. So I mean, I get that, but like, yeah, once you just load just the morphs you need, now Daz goes back to running like it used to when you first got it. It's back to being smooth. So that is such a pain in the butt. And it's like, why? But I mean, we're probably using Daz as an animation software to a higher degree than any other person in the world. So it's like, we're pushing it to its absolute limits. And obviously, it would be much better to switch to a software package that was made for animation. But my argument has always been, and it's my mind is slowly getting changed, that what we need, the most important thing is speed, speed of producing new content. So if a new chapter is coming up and it's like, okay, well, we just wrote this new chapter. What do we need for this chapter? Well, we need a cafe. We need 3 more characters. We need them to have this type of clothes on, and then we need them to have these objects or these items, and it's like, okay, well, easy, because the Daz store has everything you would ever need for the most part. Every now and then we have to outsource and have someone design something from scratch. A lot of the lore stuff, some of that stuff is designed from scratch. But for the most part, if you need a coffee mug in a scene, you're not going to create a coffee mug from scratch. You're going to buy it. And any type of coffee mug you can imagine, if they're eating fried chicken and you need a plate filled with fried chicken, well, go to Daz, they're going to have it. It's like you can move fast. So basically there's an entire section of production which is just a matter of going to the store and buying what you need, and which can be done really quick. And then not only that, but when you load it into Daz, it works every time, because they wouldn't allow anything on the store that doesn't work flawlessly. So we can have peace of mind knowing that no matter, like, from a visual standpoint, if we need it, we will be able to find it. That's where Daz is great. And the render quality with iRay is also really great. There's other softwares that do like real-time rendering and real-time animation, which is great. I mean, what a dream to be able to animate in real time and see the feedback in real time. But the render quality is not where I would want it to be. So yeah, that's kind of, Daz has its strong points for sure, and has its weak points for sure. And so I'm slowly starting to look into other options. I definitely never want to lose that capability of knowing that we don't have to limit our storytelling, saying, oh, well, it'd be great to have this take place at a power plant, but there are no power plant assets, and so it would take a month to create a power plant. It's like, I'd never want to be in that position. So trying to find something that will fit the bill is difficult.
Now, to talk about, like, in a similar vein about efficiency and creating content at a rate that can increase your output, we've talked in pretty much every episode on this podcast about the use of AI. It's a controversial topic right now because where does the creativity lie in using it? Um, in Symphony of the Serpent, obviously there's some AI generated stuff like the magazines and the book in the Miller's house, and I think some of the items in your inventory. What are your thoughts on using AI? What made you implement it for these little smaller niche things? And do you plan on maybe using it more in the future?
I'm gonna use it more in the future for sure. I mean, everybody will. um,
Mhm.
but what that looks like is AI is a very general term that can mean a lot of different things. I
Right.
guess from the standpoint of where AI has been used in Symphony of the Serpent, when I made the very first chapter of Symphony of the Serpent, I experimented with, well, could AI be used from a um, kind of background storytelling where it's like,
Mhm.
um, so like I was like, well, I want to kind of convey that Julia is obsessed with her weight and dieting and trying to trying to keep her weight down. Um, I, I could why don't I just use AI to create like all these books that are just lying all around the house? I mean, what would that be like? So I kind of did that. I never really went back and kept doing it. I just did it that once.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if it's. I think it's in one aspect. I like the idea of being able to add stuff like that instantly. It's like you don't have to prepare for it. It's if you have this idea and it's something very simple like a book you click on and the cover, it's not impactful to the story or anything. It's just
Mhm.
kind of an item that's just laying around the house. Um, it's a very quick way to add that kind of stuff. Um, So I'm not sure how I feel about that. I might do more of that. I think if there's too much stuff to like if every single thing in the world you can click on and look at it, it might get overwhelming. Like because you're trying to figure out what you need to do next, and like the screen is filled with interactable objects. So maybe that's not a great idea. Um, as far as like the icons, um, AI's been nice for the icons because I can just generate them very quickly. Because a lot of
Mhm.
times, if I can, I'll use the 3D models for the icons. But a lot of the times, there's not a 3D model available in our library, and the object is never going to be seen apart from the icon. Like for instance, the plastic bag you get out of the trash can at the hospital. Um, it doesn't really serve any purpose except for problem solving. So it's like, you know, do you go out of your way to find a resource for a plastic bag to create a single rendered image, or do you just type in plastic bag and you're done? Um, in the old games, it was I just wouldn't render anything. It would just if you find an item, it says you found a bamboo stick. And you don't see a bamboo stick; it just tells you found one. And then the icon for it is this little 16 by 6 or 32 by 32 icon. Um, which from that standpoint, it was a lot of stock imagery. Like I could just find stock imagery, and it doesn't even have to look that great because it's so tiny. You're not even really be
Mhm.
able to see it. So if that in Symphony of the Serpent, when you find an object, it'd be kind of nice to see what you found. But there's going to be hundreds of objects in the game that will serve very little function apart from just like a recipe or something. So like it doesn't make a lot of sense to put resources into creating all this stuff when those resources could be put into the sex scenes or the story scenes. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's where that kind of came into being is the AI is being used for the items. It hasn't really been used for anything else. I experimented a little bit with using AI for Margaret's hair in one shot. And maybe
Hmm.
some people can spot it. There's one shot in the whole game where her hair is AI generated. Uh it's it doesn't completely generate the hair. It uses her 3D model hair, but the strands of hair are created by AI. And it looked pretty good actually. but I never really pursued consistently doing that because that actually adds a lot to the process. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to start replacing the hair with AI, then you have to create the scene like normal, render it out like normal, but then put that into AI, have it recreate the hair, then recomposite the hair back into the video. Yeah, it's doable, but do people really care that much if the hair looks super great, or would those resources be better spent into the sex scenes or something? So I don't know. I could see myself using AI for something like that if it fits into the process very neatly. One thing I would love AI to do is to clean up issues in the render. Every now and then you render something and like the clothes pokes through the skin, or I mean the skin pokes through the clothes. You're like, do I really have to go back and re-render all that? And you're like, well, I don't want to re-render, so I'm going to fix it in post. So to fix it in post, I have to find a little patch of the shirt and put it over the skin in just the right frames, and then it still doesn't really look that great. But like, you're not going to re-render a 12-hour render to fix some clothes poking through. What I would love, and I bet you this will exist soon, is you just select the area where the clothes pokes through, and AI will fix it. That would make my life so much more easy, because that is the most frustrating thing, is when like these renders take so long to do, and when you get done and like there's a small problem and you're debating, is it worth re-rendering or can it be fixed in post? AI will make that choice a lot easier, and allow me to just keep moving forward with other things without having to go back and redo stuff that I just kind of missed. So I don't know of any tools like that now that can do that, but I'm absolutely positive that it will not be long before that exists, and I can't wait.
Obviously, we had the discussion with Ramsey, obviously, who was very anti-AI, and then the voice actors is a little bit of a different side to AI and how people are getting their voice used, and they were obviously against it and joining guilds and having Nava speak to US government and get everyone's, not even just voice actors, just everyone in the world's voice protected away from this stuff. And then we spoke to Joriel, who was just like, oh yeah, it'd be really good if AI could clean up animation loops, or it could do little things, a lot more like technical stuff like you're saying, which he wanted to improve.
Yeah, it's that frustrating stuff where it's like, you make a mistake and you're like, oh, God, I gotta redo all my work. It'd be so nice if AI could just fix the mistake.
My argument to him would be, I think, in the best world, we have the best tools available to us. If Daz was better, if Daz's animation skill, tools were better, you probably wouldn't make those mistakes. He was talking about deforming, like when a hand grabs a boob or a hand grabs an ass, or the way like a hand's not sticking to a surface when it needs to, and that's really hard to get to done in Daz.
Yeah, I mean, if the process, if the software was better, there'd be less mistakes for sure. And in an ideal world where I could control Daz, I would force them to create a new patch that fixes all that stuff. But until then, the shortcomings might be able to be fixed with AI. But like you said, with loops, it's like with all the sex animations, they always have to seamlessly loop, and that doesn't always happen. And sometimes we have to be very creative with how we get those loops to work, because you'll finish a render and you realize, there's a small problem, and when you fix that stuff in post, it's like it's a different problem-solving solution almost every time, because there's no one-size-fits-all way to fix a problem like that. I mean, ideally you would re-render everything, but that's not always feasible. And yeah, wouldn't it be so cool if AI could just make like, oh, there's a big jump where the loop is supposed to happen. Let's just crop this section here, and bam, now it loops perfectly. But yeah, but yeah, that's why AI is there's things like AI can mean painting out wire work in a martial arts scene, all the way to generating a video from scratch from from a prompt, right? Those are all under the general term AI, but those are very different things. Now, I guess the neural networks underneath them are comparable, but like what they're doing and what they're adding to the creative process are night and day. It's like I kind of don't like the direction of that you see a lot of people going of just being anti-AI in general. It's like, well, be anti-AI replacing the creative process. Don't be anti-AI as a general life philosophy, because there's a lot of good it can do too. But yeah, I definitely in post-processing, touch-up, and polishing, I would love to have AI tools for that. I think once I think it depends on the project and the artist. Like what I've kind of thought about this. Like, what does it mean to, like, when you play an NLT game, what is the NLT-ness of the game? Like, what are you playing it for? And I kind of think like from a visual standpoint, like the way I light a scene is different. You know, it's like you can kind of look at a shot and say, oh, well, that's lit by NLT, or this shot is framed like NLT frames a shot, or this animation loop has the NLT signature.
Well, the RPG top-down doesn't look like any other RPG top-down for a start.
Right. So if you start using AI to replace that, then you're kind of replacing the soul of what it means to be an NLT game. But then there are other things that aren't, and you know, like hair physics. Nobody says, "Ah, those are NLT hair physics." No one cares about my hair physics. I think it's probably a lacking. It's something that's difficult to do. It's not feasible for us to have realistic hair physics or even realistic boob physics or anything like that. It's like we can hand animate that stuff from time to time. We do. If I can run all that stuff to AI and then the hair all reacts in a physically accurate way, you know, I think that would be a use of AI that doesn't affect the soul of the game at all. I think it would enhance the game. If I was known as the hair physics guy and I did that, then it would be, you know, people would be like, what the hell? But, you know, it depends on the artist and what they're using the tool for. You know, be like if you're an artist and you're thinking about AI, like think about what is the soul of what your project is, right?
Yeah.
Like what do people want to see your work for? Like that's where, you know, don't let AI replace that. Let AI replace all the stuff around the edges.
When we spoke to Joriel, he spoke about sound design and how, like, you spoke this as well, right? You're really good at animation. This is what you've known for. You're not particularly a great writer. You probably had a weakness when it comes to sound design as well. There's other little shortfalls or, you know, weaknesses in your arsenal, but you need all of those things to come together to create a great game. And Joriel was talking about his latest game, Betrayed, and he said if he had AI, when Betrayed was being made, he would have had better sound design because he'd have been able to use AI for that weakness for him. Is that where you think AI should be used? Like, AI written stories a little bit much, but you know.
Yeah, I think an AI as an editor isn't bad. Like, don't just always do what the AI tells you. So for AI, I have an editor, a human editor that has worked for me since the Genesis order, or actually maybe even late into Treasure of Nadia. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, he probably pulls his hair out at the grammar mistakes that I'm constantly making. So I have made his job slightly easier, and I run it through Chat GPT first to make sure that you know, I've written it correctly, and that makes his job easier as an editor. So it's not replacing him, but and I can think as a consumer, when you play adult games, especially if it's written by somebody whose English is not a first language and you're playing it in English, it's like if those people use AI to clean up their writing and make it sound more natural, you know, as a consumer of the product, I would be happy with that. I would want that. Because a lot of those games for people who play adult games that are like translated to English, I mean, you know how it is. You have to kind of use your imagination. Say, well, okay, it's written this way, but he probably really should have written it this way. Um, an AI, if an AI can catch like something like that for a person who's making their own game, and like they're having trouble with that, as a consumer, I would rather them use AI and me have an easier reading experience than have them say, oh well, no, I may not know English, but I'm gonna or English might be my second language, but I'm gonna push through because I refuse to use AI. Um, yeah, it if I think it's just it's it's a tool, and use it. Don't let it replace the soul of your work. And I think as consumers, when we play games that have been enhanced with AI in the right way, that we will appreciate that.
Transitioning from the AI conversation, there's kind of now more a few community-based questions we have for you, along with some direct questions from fans across various platforms. So I know this is quite a big segue from going from animation to AI, all that kind of stuff. This is a little bit more intricacies with how you make decisions and what things will be like in the future. But um, the first question that we have here is there any plan to change the order in which the scenes happen in the game or keep it the same, such as having more orgies compared to one-on-one scenes, or having each story update, say getting a one-on-one, a group scene, and a story scene? What are your thoughts kind of on that? Because one of the big things with TGO was lots of repetitive scenes back to back to back, and that's what we talked about in the first episode that we did with you. I feel like the flow's been a little bit better.
Yeah,
Um,
I
okay, you
yeah, I
touched on
think
that.
basically the plan with Symphony of the Serpent is that we'll still do like group stuff and orgies, but I think with the Genesis Order and Treasure of Nadi as well, it's like you're playing the game, and then you have the solo scenes first, and then you have threesomes, and then foursomes, and then it's like you're you're not spending a lot of one-on-one time with the characters.
Mhm.
Um, and with Symphony of the Serpent, it's kind of going to be more weighted toward the one-on-one scenes. I think most people want that, and I think it's
Mhm.
better from a storytelling standpoint. And that's one thing that Symphony of the Serpent is trying to improve on is when we animate scenes that or the scenes that we create for the animation process, that those scenes are going toward storytelling in a compelling way. Whereas with the Genesis War, it's almost more like, okay, well, you know, we're kind of put the story aside a little bit and just have a really fun fivesome right now,
Mhm.
which is cool and fun. But Symphony of the Serpent is more about when there's a sex scene, it's serving some purpose to the story. That's not to say we won't have group scenes. I mean, we've had group scenes and we'll continue to have group scenes. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes there are sex scenes where we kind of question, like in the story group, is this necessary? It's like, well, it's not really necessary. So what we've been doing is, if if a sex scene we feel isn't necessary to the game, we will have a slight branching path in that moment where the player, if they're just not interested in sex at the moment, they could select an option that makes it obvious that they're going to bypass a sex scene. We'll still give them the
Mhm.
scene if they want to go to the player and watch it later, but so that way, we're kind of making a guess on where will people might want to skip a sex scene, and then give them that option. The option is not given if the scene is important to the story, which for the most part, most of the scenes are. Um, we don't allow you to skip. I mean, you can just tab through really quickly if you really don't want to read the story. But
Yeah.
if it's not story based, we allow you to skip it. But for the most part, I would say 90% of the scenes in the game are serving a purpose, and we want to continue that trend. Um, which probably is ultimately going to lead to less orgies, because it's hard to have an orgy that has an impact on the story. I'll say it's impossible, and there probably still will be a couple, but a lot of the times in the older games, when you were stopping down to have group sex, you were doing so just for fun, not for story.
When it comes to like story stuff, you've obviously got to decide the canon ending as such. You know, all games have a canon ending. I've been playing Fallout New Vegas again ahead of the show's return to Amazon, and it looks like the canon ending is the house always wins in that. Where do you, or how do you decide who's going to get the pregnancy ending? A bit like Jessica did, because it seemed like Jessica got like the romantic off into the sunset ending with Henry. How do you decide that for characters?
You know, when I think back to Treasure of Nadia with Jessica, you know, she wasn't originally supposed to have a story, but people liked her so much, I decided to give her a character arc. And so I kind of started to play up the idea of her not knowing if she should prioritize career over motherhood or whatever, and which kind of led to a logical conclusion of her being pregnant at the end. I guess when it comes to deciding that, if it makes sense for the story, I'll just do it. I might make it optional, I might not. From a canon perspective, should I? Well, we'll just say all the pregnancies that could happen in Treasure of Nadia are canon, and same with Lust Epidemic,
Gotcha.
and the Genesis Order. If there's no every pregnancy that happened, it was supposed to happen. We'll just say that. But I guess with Symphony of the Serpent, it'll be: is there anyone who just logically, from a story standpoint, if they got pregnant, it would impact their character in a way that's compelling?
Yes.
Then for sure we'll let that happen. Is there a fan favorite who really wants to get pregnant? And it's like, well, is there any reason not to? If there's not, then we'll go ahead and give them that too.
I wanna just throw my piece in the ring right now, right? Anya giving up her tennis career to be a mother.
Be a mother.
Oh,
That could be interesting.
And she's also like the highest rated at the fan feedback.
Yeah, you know, if people keep pushing for that, then you might see her pregnant at the end.
honestly,
I don't know if her character arc. I don't want to mirror Jessica's character arc, but you know, we could find a way to make that work if that's what fans want.
Margaret's a viable candidate, right?
For pregnancy, you know what?
I'm just joking.
With divine intervention, anything's possible.
Mhm.
Are you saying God's got some powers to turn us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a specific question from one of our Discord members, Old Worn Out. So shout out to him. Do you have a favorite game out of the 4 so far? Because obviously this can change once Symphony of the Serpent is done. And if you do, that's great. Let us know. But if you could go back in time, is there also anything you would change about the previous 3 titles?
Well, I definitely have favorite aspects of all the games. With Treasure of Nadia, was such a departure from Lust Epidemic that was a lot of fun to make, and it seemed like all creative choices I was making, I was like knocking it out of the park. Essentially, it's like everybody loved almost everything I did, and so that made it a lot of fun to make. And then I thought that the twist ending of Treasure of Nadia, I was so excited about that. So Treasure of Nadia's twist ending is probably my favorite ending of the games.
Did you have that written out?
Yeah, that was planned all from the beginning. And the hints that were dropped, it's like I wasn't, I was trying to be careful not to give anything away, but every single hint, no one acts out of character. Nothing. There's no red herrings. If you analyze the game deeply enough, you could see everything that was going to come. So that's my favorite aspect of Treasure of Nadia. And I thought the ending of Treasure of Nadia with, spoiler alert. Okay, last warning. Okay, spoiler alert. Henry Henry re-meets his father at the end, and I thought that was a good wrap up for that game.
Yeah.
And how that ended. And so, that was my favorite aspect of that. Lust Epidemic.
Can I interrupt? Can we stay on Henry for a moment and do another spoiler? He dies in TGO, and the fans are not happy.
Yeah, fans aren't happy with that, but there are consequences. And if you think enough about it, like, what are the consequences to Henry being dead? Is there anything that could be interesting about Henry being dead? I think it might be worth thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you can go back to TGO now. Or Lust Epidemic, sorry.
My favorite aspect of Lust Epidemic, that was my first real game that I, felt was worthy of the NLT name. My favorite aspect of that game, I guess a lot like Treasure of Nadia, people really latched onto it. I was creating, something from I didn't have a lot of followers on Patreon back then. I didn't have a whole lot of interest in, NLT media. So Lust Epidemic, while that didn't reach the heights of Treasure Nadia, or not even close, at the time it felt like, wow, I'm really making something people like. And I was also making the game that I wanted to play. And that's kind of where it came from, is like as me is like looking at the adult game starting to pop up, and like there's nothing that really kind of struck a chord with me to the degree that I wanted it to. It's like there needs to be a game out there where the story is solid, it is interesting, where the characters have individual voices, where you have to earn what's coming, like you're not just clicking through stuff. Like, you have to solve problems, you have to use your brain, to where when you finally do have a sex scene, it feels earned. It's like no one was really doing it to the level that I wanted them to. So with Lust Epidemic, finally creating and putting something out there that I wish was already out there, that was my favorite part of Lust Epidemic, is putting a game out there that was like that. I guess we've already gone over Treasure Nadia. Jumping to the Genesis Order, my favorite part of the Genesis Order is I loved how neatly it wrapped up. I don't think it hit the same emotional high of Treasure of Nadia with Henry's father, but I thought from a just the way everything kind of fell together in the way that I wanted it to, in the way that I had planned on it happening, and it all made sense. You might have to read. I think some people have said that the Genesis Order story is a bit harder to follow because there's more moving parts, and that's true. There's more moving parts in that game. But again, if you analyze it deeply enough, everything was building to something, and everything came together in the way that I wanted it to. And I thought that pulling off that ending in such a clean way, that was my favorite part of that game. And especially, I would say it peaked with, okay, another spoiler alert. It peaked. That ending for me peaked when Hannah shoved the dildo up Demalius's ass. It's just so perfect, and everyone's reaction to it is so perfect. And I loved Hannah's character so much. That the ending to the Genesis Order was I was super happy with that. I guess moving on Symphony of Serpent, it's not done yet, so there's no telling what might come. But I love doing story scenes every month and having voiced story scenes. I wish I could have done that with the other games. Obviously, the resources weren't there, but if I could go back and change some of those sprite-based cutscenes to fully animated cutscenes, that would be cool. And I'm glad that with Symphony of the Serpent that there's a chance now to do that. And we've made it a habit now. Every month, every story update, we'll get a story scene, a fully animated story scene, and I think that really adds to the game. And so hopefully we'll be able to stick the landing with Symphony of the Serpent. Everything is going the direction that it's been intended to go. The reveals have been slowly coming out as they've been intended, and just like the other games, everything that's happening is happening for a reason, and it all has meaning. And when the ending comes, you'll be like, oh, that's why that happened. And so I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, so do I have a favorite game? No, I have favorite aspects to every game, and so those are my favorite aspects to every game.
That's a very good sit on the fence answer. That I'll give you credit for that one. Just gonna quick little sidestep. I don't know if you did watch the episodes with the two voice actors. Did you learn anything from them 2 episodes? Like, is there anything you were like, oh, I can do this a little bit more now?
I've been learning a lot. Like, it's been interesting to watch the episodes, and just hear what people's thoughts are about, their particular aspect of the game, what they're providing. And so yeah, it's definitely giving me insight of different things to do, with the voice and with the animations, like listening to Ramsey and Jarrell, and what they're interested in, and stuff like that. And creating, I would say the fight scenes, like having somebody who's passionate about fight scenes, to put those in the game. Like in previous games, a fight scene was a character would jump on top of another character, then you'd make a punch sound, and then they would fall to the ground. And that's how we did it in the Genesis Order and Treasure of Nadia. Now, since we have Ramsey, a fight scene can be a lot more interesting than that. Although, to be fair, Treasure of Nadia had the fight scene with Duncan at the very end, and the Genesis Order had a fight scene, or maybe 1 or 2 fight scenes. Oh, and
You
the
got
stuff with
Tasha in the
Erica was
bar.
pretty cool too. Yeah, so yeah, there was some good stuff with Treasure Night and the Genesis Order too. But now we're able to make a whole lot of story content with fights and action and stuff. So and a lot of that stuff, listening to the podcast and hearing Ramsey's passion for that really makes me think, okay, when I'm writing and it's time for some conflict, maybe it could be a little bit, maybe put some spice in this conflict, and then have Ramsey animate a fight scene. So yeah, it's been great listening to the podcast.
Thank you. That's nice.
It
nice.
is nice to hear. It is, yeah.
It definitely is nice. Davey, I was going to leave the next question we have highlighted to you, so I'll segue to the next one. In Symphony of the Serpent, we have Cleopatra introduced as a character. How have you found it working with someone that's technically like a historical figure? Are there any challenges to writing that type of character?
Not really, because I'm basically treating them as a mythological character. I did research, the history of her past in order to tie in real history to the game, because I think that's interesting. When the reality of the game reflects the reality of the real world to some degree, but obviously anywhere that I can, do my own thing, I will definitely make it. I will definitely err on the side of entertaining over accurate. Although we've had so many discussions, and the fans might be surprised to hear how much thought went into like her accent and getting the timeline of her history right, and stuff like that. It's more than you'd probably think, but I do prioritize entertainment over historical accuracy for sure. But even though Cleopatra is like the first character that's like prominent, in the other games there've been references to real life characters. So Sophia's history, was connected to the real life historical account of the search for the Fountain of Youth, and so I kind of try to tie her into the real history of that. Now, obviously, the Fountain of Youth isn't a real thing, but people did think it was real, and they tried to find it.
What?
And yeah, sorry to break that to you,
Oh,
but so I studied the real history of the search for the Fountain of Youth, and then tried to, okay, well, what if Sophia was tied in? Oh, more spoiler alert! What if Sophia was tied into this whole stuff, right? Well, what if she was there? What if she knew these people? Then she would talk in a certain way, and when she spoke about people she knew, she is referencing historical figures. Now, I don't think I ever overtly named anybody, but again, like if you read between the lines and stuff, there's references to historical figures in Treasure of Nadia. The Genesis Order is a lot more. It's its own thing. It doesn't really tie into real world history. It ties into mythology, but it doesn't tie into real world history. So I guess we're kind of going back to tying in. So Treasure of Nadia, real world history of the search for the Fountain of Youth, Symphony of the Serpent, real world history of Egypt and Rome, and around the turn of the like 48 BC and 50 BC in that time period. So yeah, I guess we're going back to referencing real history again. But yeah, Cleopatra is the first character that's front and center. That's from real history. Yeah,
That's a nice segue for us, because we're gonna go back to Treasure of Nadia. There's very nice little Easter eggs and homages to Indiana Jones in Treasure of Nadia. I don't think you're gonna hide that secret. And then I think it was Borders pointed out that Ethan looks like Fraser from The Mummy. And then I watched the Mummy series, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then there's a couple other characters that look kind of similar. And I was like, have you watched The Mummy? And like, is that where like maybe it's in the back of your head, you haven't even thought about it?
Yeah, it's probably what it was. In Treasure of Nadia, I was overtly trying to reference Indiana Jones. It's like it's kind of on the nose. With Symphony of the Serpent, I'm not trying to reference The Mummy, but I wouldn't be surprised if the influence was kind of in the back of my head. So yeah, I mean, and there's still time left. I might throw some references in there, here and there, but where Treasure of Nadia was clearly trying to lean into kind of a parody of like, what if Indiana Jones was, studying the history of the Pirates of the Caribbean? It's like, what would that look like?
With a Lara Croft hanging around.
Yeah, it's kind of like on the nose. Symphony of the Serpent isn't really on the nose trying to parody anything. It's really its own thing, but I'm sure there's been a lot of things in the back of my mind that have surfaced in the creation of different story elements or visual looks and stuff like that.
Okay, so moving forward, we've talked about all of the games so far. So moving towards a little bit of a tease of the future. I mean, a bunch of us have talked about, moving forward with Game 5, what that could look like. Do you potentially do it on a smaller scale? What kind of setting does it take place in? How do you build connections with the characters, along with pushing the quality forward? Have you had any form of thoughts or ideas towards Game 5 that you could shed with the community right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've had ideas of directions to go and different game ideas. It's really early to tell, and having done this 4 times already, any ideas you have early on, maybe 1% of that is going to end up in the final product. So I mean, I could share some thoughts, but this is by no means confirmation of anything. But I had an idea of like, what if like we go back in time a little bit, and like there's a group of people that are like in an escape room, and then the lust pandemic hits, and like for whatever reason, like they get trapped in there because like maybe people are scared to leave or something, and then like it becomes a big thing, and now like so we're confining the environment and make it a lot more personal. Like that would be a very dramatic, different. That would almost be like going back to Lust Epidemic.
Yeah, my mind went sore like when you start saying that. like a
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah, like
Saw,
Saw, but like let's keep the violence to a minimum.
Saw, but with cocks, basically.
Yeah, sex instead of violence. Yeah, I mean that would be kind of interesting. Um, if we were to keep moving the story forward and go on, on an epic scale, maybe traveling between countries or something, having uh, maybe you're switching between the story of two different characters, like a female character and a male character, and maybe their stories intertwine at some point. I don't know. Like I have no shortage of ideas, but we're so far out still with Symphony of the Serpent. It's really early to tell, but there's one thing I know for sure is I will have an idea because
Oh yeah.
there's no shortages of that. But and it's nice having a world now with a lore where it's like now there's so many. It's like without even thinking of anything new. Like let's just say we only wanted to just go deeper into the characters that already exist. It's like man, every single character could have its own story. It's almost overwhelming to think about, and it really makes me wish that like NLT was a huge company with a massive staff, because I would be like, okay, well, we need a division for comics, we need a division for a TV show, we need to be making a movie, we need to be making. It's like there's so many. I want to see an Albert story, I want to see a Hannah story, I want to see a Claire story, I want to see a Sophia story. I want to see a prequel to Treasure of Nadia about Sophia's times with the pirates. Oh my god, there's so much stuff I want to see.
Yep.
But so yeah, there will definitely be no shortage.
You could do Henry's dad.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to make a prequel to Treasure of Nadia about Sophia? Yeah, I mean, it could lead there, but I'm saying like maybe even like the 1700s or something. Like, what was Sophia doing in the 1700s? Like that would be a totally different game, but still connected to the lore. The problem with that is if you have Sophia in a prequel, people are probably not going to be too happy about her banging non-Henry characters. And she would have to, right? So it wouldn't be an NLT game if you had the star character never have sex. So there's the problem with the prequel. Maybe that would be something for a poll. It's like, would you want to see a Nadia prequel, but the caveat is she's going to be banging dudes other than Henry? Is that going to be okay?
It's only one character. That's the thing. It's only one character. It's not the whole 12. And the other thing too is, what if you made it two different timelines? Timelines that you throw in Idaho Johnson.
Yeah, could have something from like the 60s, like maybe 1740 Sophia, and then 1960s Idaho Johnson, and have Diana in there, like 20-year-old Diana. But again, as interesting as that could be from a storytelling perspective, have to get the fans on board with that, with the thought of Diana and hooking up with someone other than Henry or Sophia or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I have no shortage of thoughts about directions to go. That's for sure.
So you talked about like trying to build a story as such. Do you build the story first and then build the characters into that story, or do you think of characters and then build a story around it? Like, what's your process of how you would go about creating a game?
It's a little bit of both. At first, it's a little bit of both. It's like you kind of come up with a story idea and what kind of characters are needed for that type of story, and then and then once you get that down, then what kind of supporting characters would work, and then you kind of you're looking at a list of character arcs and like, okay, well, this, we have these character arcs. Well, these two people are kind of the same person, so we'll just combine them into one person. So it's a lot of going back and forth when developing a story. But typically, before the first chapter is written, I'll have all the story beats written out, all the characters written out, how they'll start the game, how they'll finish the game, what type of lesson they're going to learn. like what kind of character growth they're gonna have. I guess that stuff isn't necessarily set in stone. It becomes set in stone once something is written in canon and it goes out into the world. Then it's set in stone. But there's been certain character arcs that have changed. Right now with Symphony of the Serpent, there's at least one character that was supposed to have a pretty dark ending, but their ending might shift based off of the way the fans are reacting to that character. So it's like yeah, that character was written to have a dark ending, but it doesn't necessarily have to because it's not written in stone yet. So yeah, that's basically the process of building. Build the story first, which is both characters and story, and you're kind of jumping back and forth. And then once you have all that kind of down, then it's time to write the story. Because in my stories, it's a lot of, there's twists and turns and reveals and interconnectedness, and it's kind of a mystery. All the games have been mysteries at their core. And so, like, if you're playing the game and you're trying to figure it out, you're doing it right. The game is written to be for you to think and try to figure out what's going to happen. Like where's this going? And you couldn't do that if you didn't plan it out to begin with. If you write a mystery story and you don't have it pre-planned out, then you're probably going to have a very disappointing ending, and people are going to look back and say, "Oh, well, that's very convoluted," or this was an out of character decision, or this is a plot hole here and a plot hole there. It's like that's the type of stuff that will end up happening if you just start writing and you don't think about it first. Now, there are a lot of writers that do write that way, but they're typically not writing a mystery. It's like things are unraveling to the reader as it's being written. So that's not how we're doing these games, and that's just kind of not what I guess that's not my style. I like when you could look back at how the characters spoke and the things that they said and be like, wow, this was all leading somewhere. It's like, for me, that's a very important part of storytelling. So that's why it's so important that everything be pre-planned.
So I'm trying to segue this to the last answer here, but Davey and I, in our last episodes, we made a tier list of all of the women from ranking S, A, B, C, D from all 4 games thus far, that based on our opinions. Obviously, it's probably too much to ask you to make one of those, but if you had to pick one character from each of the 3 previous completed games as your favorite, whether they were fun to write, you liked the way they interacted with the story, whatever, who would they be? And this could be A, B, C, and that's it, or you can give us some explanations here.
I would say I can tell you my favorite character to write from every game. Lust Epidemic, probably Simon or Bancroft, maybe as a pair. That was kind of, I think, making Bancroft a very desirable character was fun to do, and making Simon very hateable in a wonderful way was really fun to do. I would say those 2 characters.
I really love Simon. I'm Team Simon, so.
In Treasure of Nadia, my favorite character to write was, I liked making Aaliyah. I find that character super funny. Albert. Oh, Albert's probably even more than Aaliyah was fun to write. Or Ash. Really kind of crazy characters. Where like you can't really predict what they're gonna do next. Is always kind of fun. I guess if I were to, from a non-humor standpoint, Treasure of Nadia, who would be my favorite character from Treasure of Nadia, subtracting the humor aspect? I guess it's hard not to say Sophia. I mean, she's kind of the star of the show. It's hard not to pick her. A lot of mystery there. The whole story kind of revolves around her. Yeah, I would. Then for the Genesis Order, favorite character is Hannah, hands down. It's impossible for me to not pick Hannah. Hannah was so fun to write. It's kind of an obvious choice. Even humor aside, I liked her character a lot. Maybe another one I could pick from the Genesis Order is Lillian. Again, I mean, the story kind of to some degree revolves around her too. So, she was a very important character. Moving on to Symphony of the Serpent. So far, my favorite character to write has been Layla's kind of funny.
Bakko's funny.
Who'd you say?
Bakko and Amira, right? Their relationship's funny.
Yeah. I guess Amira. Amira is a mixture of funny, but it's not just humor there. Like there's more there, and she's kind of like a villain in a way, but like she's not an evil person. She's just, Amira is probably a good overall pick for one of my favorites to write.
You like driven characters then, with Sophia, Lillian, and Amira?
Yeah. Let's see, who else can I pick from Symphony of the Serpent that kind of stands out?
What about Daniel?
Oh yeah. Daniel and more recently God. Yeah, and then I knew from the beginning, from before a single page had been written, getting Daniel and God in the same room was a must. And I was looking forward to that day for a while. So yeah, that they're up there too. So yeah, those are I guess are my favorite characters to write from every game. I guess if you were going to rank people based off of like desirability, right? That's probably what people are really wondering. It's like, who do I think are the hottest characters? Like, well, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to say, without coming off biased.
It's personal taste, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I don't want anyone thinking I gave anyone more attention than the other. But if I had to marry one person from every game, right? Now that makes it more interesting. Because now I can't just pick the hottest character. It's like it's got to be someone who's compatible with me. With Lust Epidemic, Cat.
For the bum.
I would say Cat. I could get along with her for the rest of my life. Yeah. Nice ass too. That's not bad. I would say, and let's do best and least. Least compatible. Least compatible with me from Lust Epidemic would probably be Bancroft. I would probably want to, I would definitely want to hook up with her. Let's not forget that. But
do you count the two basement girls?
From the game we're playing of marrying them, no, I would not be interested in either one.
Yes,
they're too young for me.
Yeah.
Let's see, Treasure of Nadia, most marryable character for me. Jessica, I guess. That's probably everyone's.
Hell yeah, brother.
I mean, she's a doctor. She has her life together. She wants to be a mom. If you're gonna marry somebody, it's got to be Jessica. Least marryable person, Madeline, obviously. That would be a disaster. Let's see, the Genesis Order. Who would I marry in the Genesis Order? Probably Melissa. The thing is I would want to get with Hannah so bad, but I know that it would not end well.
Not like Heather or Carol or.
Those would all be great choices, but my personality would jive with Melissa the most. And probably.
So what are you saying?
I just like her character.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, and then the person that you would least want to marry in the Genesis Order, any of the Demon Sisters, obviously. They would not be good to have around.
There'd be a wild ride though.
Madeline's in there too. I mean, not good marriage material. Yeah, any demon really. But that brings us to Symphony of the Serpent. I would almost be tempted to try it with Impusa, just because I find her character funny, but nah, she's too evil, so she doesn't get it. Let's see. In Symphony of the Serpent, so far, the person who personality would jive best with me would probably be Nia.
Yeah.
Or Anya.
Obviously, you've got the side women, which I'm sure you in your head have got a personality for.
Yeah, with the side women, I might develop some little side stories or something there in the future for them. Their personalities are kind of a blank slate right now, so
Maybe
I mean
Nora.
they have a little bit of personality.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to propose to any of the side girls yet. I need to learn more about them, but and then least compatible in Symphony of the Serpent, Agrit would be bad news.
Be a great time though for the while it lasted.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she would be fun to hook up with, but
You'd be robbing banks and
yeah, she is bad news. Stay away from her.
Bonnie and Clyde, that would be. We have some more like questions this time from X, AFI. Shout out to you. He's a big Margaret fan, so he's looking forward to more scenes of that. And he's wondering if Margaret's going to get any threesome scenes with the nuns. That's probably he's on about Madeline, obviously Judy and Kate. That's probably a Moan Zone Game 5 thing, right?
Yeah, unless he's referring to the nuns that we kind of don't see in the game.
Oh,
that
yeah,
wear,
you
like,
could do.
the face masks. That could be bonus content, I suppose. When I was designing the nuns in the game, I knew that if I wasn't careful, people are going to start asking for content with the nuns, and then I'd be like, "Oh, this is Jessica and Prisha all over again." So, in order to keep people focused on what I want them to be focused on, I decided to completely cover up the nuns. And from a lore perspective, it makes sense. There's a virus, right? They should keep their faces covered. So I want the nuns to not be distracting. But as bonus content, sure, we can unmask them and see what they're made out of. But I would say underneath the robes, there's not much there. Very little. I'll have to put a little more creative. If we're going to see them nude, I'm going to have to put some more creative effort into what's underneath the robe. Because right now, they just serve the purpose of being nuns and trying really hard for the player not to be too attracted to them, because we're not going to be exploring the nun's story. I guarantee you. We'll be exploring Margaret's story, and the nuns could be a part of Margaret's story, but they're not going to have individual personalities.
All right, so we've got a few more questions from X, and this one is from Magnificent Maurice 834. This is a three-parter, so you can answer it as long as you want for each part, guess. First part, any chances of POV scenes as the third person gets a little boring after a while? Will past titles get Steam Cloud features? And do you plan to go into 3D gameplay in the future?
Let's see. For the first one, POV scenes. I'm not opposed to putting POV. I guess the games are kind of being portrayed as you're not really you're taking control of the character, but
you can change his name though.
You aren't the character, but yeah, you could change his name. So I mean, I guess from my perspective and the way that I've written the games, the way that I see it as like a movie. It's like this is the character that I identify with, but you are not the character. So kind of imagine if you were making a movie, you could put a POV scene in a movie, I guess, but typically as a writer, you're not thinking that way. I'm certainly open to it, but when I storyboard stuff, it's just not what I'm thinking about. So it very rarely makes it in. But certainly if that's what people want to see, I can put more in there. What was the second part of that question?
Steam Cloud features.
Steam Cloud feature. Maybe, I guess, kind of going back to what we were talking about with like upscaling and stuff. It's like there's a list of things that would be cool, but we're constantly working on stuff, and so we have to get to the point where it's like, hey, we don't have anything to do right now. What should we do? Oh, Steam Cloud features. It's gonna have to be prioritized over pre-existing things. So we'll see. I'm not, certainly stuff like that is certainly possible. We just have to prioritize, like where should we put our resources right now? And right now, getting the quirks of Symphony of the Serpent figured out is still top priority.
On that, I did speak with the behind the scenes person, and we did speak about it, and it's their fear is if you implement it and then you break people's saves, that's going to be a bigger problem to fix. So while stuff works, leave it alone. And then if you want to move your save file, it's in the app data. You go to local, you find either user data for TGO and TON, and then just move it onto a USB stick. It's not very big.
Yeah. So far, we've not made any plans that would break a save file, and pretty much going forward, I kind of always keep that in my mind. It's like if we're going to implement something, do it in a way that doesn't break a save file. So if we ever do decide to do that, we'll give people instructions on how to back up their save files. There's definitely no plan to do anything that would break a save file. I don't expect that to happen. And we will do everything possible to avoid ever breaking a save file. But yeah, there's no plan to do anything that would break a save file right now. There was a third question in there. What was that third one?
The third one was, do you plan to go into 3D gameplay in the future?
3D gameplay. Oh, that would be nice. Well, there's different ways to look at 3D gameplay. One, if you're making games for people with good graphics cards on a PC, it opens up more opportunities than if you also have to then be compatible with Macs, old PCs, tablets, phones, Linux. Once you start saying, well, you've cultivated an audience that consists of all these people, you can't just cater to people with like 3080 Ti's and above, right? So if you do go into 3D, you have to optimize it, right? So there's engines and stuff out there that you could do, and if you want to get into 3D and make real-time 3D games, the bar of entry is pretty low. You can do it, but doing it to a degree where everything works efficiently, and you don't need a graphics card that's like new or like really good in order to be able to have it run smoothly. I mean, I guess gamers have kind of gotten used to really janky frame rates and stuff. I personally don't want to produce something of that quality. And so that would be my biggest fear is like, okay, we're going to go into 3D. Okay, we have something that works really good on my, my 4090 runs it flawlessly. Now let's test it on this other on this Mac. It's like, oh, okay, well now it's awful. Okay, well now we have to optimize. Okay, there's so many things to take into consideration. It's certainly a direction that that will go at some point for sure. Maybe even in the next game, but it's going to take a lot of planning, because if you don't do it right, what you're going to end up creating is a very buggy product. And as much as gamers have gotten used to buggy products, I don't want to be another developer making a buggy product. So I would, from my own sanity, I would want to have a process in place that guaranteed that it works flawlessly on Linux, Mac, and even your phone, some version of it for a phone. Like it's gotta, whatever your budget is for your PC or your device, that you will find a way to be able to play my next game. That's an important thing to me. And I think even if you do have a good computer, it can't be buggy. And if you start to like, God forbid, develop your own engine, you're going to run into so many problems. the planets have to align perfectly for the next game to be real-time 3D. I'm not saying it's out of the question, but if we do it, we'll do it because we found a way to do it and have it run flawlessly with no bugs.
Yeah. As someone who's was a massive fan of Fallout 4 and they've just updated to the new gen and broke Fallout 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like you go onto Steam, you buy a game. Oh, the game's new. Oh, well, yeah, just wait, 6 months, and then it'll actually work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate that. And people, if anyone listening, if you don't want that stuff in the video game industry, don't support it. Don't buy a game on day one. And if the game is buggy, get your money back, and then buy it again 6 months later when they fix it. Don't accept bad quality products. Just saying.
Yeah. Let's step to the right for another question from X from I can't read. Sarana. Maybe we'll go with that. Will we see a Lost Epidemic characters come back and have lewd scene? That's more of a Moan Zone question.
Yeah, well, I guess in Moan Zone we've seen Bancroft is in there.
I think the models need to be updated, don't they?
Those characters can return, but yeah, they need updated models because the models. I mean, I could load the models into the scenes, but the style is clashing, which isn't the end of the world. I mean, we could say, okay, it's Moan Zone. If there's a style clash, it's fine. I personally would rather update their models if they're going to appear in the game. That might be more of a question for the bonus content. If we get to the bonus content and people really want to see like Valerie and there's just no time to remodel her character, I might just stick the original model into a shot. In Treasure of Nadia, I mixed styles. I didn't recreate. There's a scene with Catherine, and was there a sex scene with? I guess it was Bancroft and Catherine, or was it Valerie and Catherine? I can't remember.
Well, Valerie and Brad's on the beach.
Well, yeah, Valerie and Brad was right at the very beginning, and I mean, technically there was a style clash. If you have an eye for that thing, you'll be like, well, these characters don't look like these characters. But at the time, when I was making Treasure of Nadia, I wasn't thinking about that kind of stuff. I kind of have an eye more for it now, and I'm more critical about style clashing. But certainly we could find a way in Moan Zone to get the old characters back, even if it is just loading the old models and being like, these are the models from Lost Epidemic, and yeah, they don't look like the models from Symphony of the Serpent, but you'll get over it.
It was Val and Kat
Okay.
in Treasure of Nadia. That's who it was.
Just
Anyway,
a
sorry,
quick
Davey,
one.
go ahead.
No, you're right. Just a quick one on Lost Epidemic, because this question has come up. I think it's on my YouTube or NLT's on your YouTube somewhere. I forgot to add it to the list, but it just come up. In Lost Epidemic, there's optional scenes within like the booty calls where you can do like the X-ray stuff and other little bits like that. Why did you cut that away post Lost Epidemic? Like, did you get people who didn't like that, or was that just too much rendering, or what was the change there?
Well, basically the way that Lost Epidemic's sex scenes were created, it was just conducive to making an X-ray function without that much more effort. But then once we switched, like we completely switched how animation was done with Treasure of Nadia, doing X-rays then became a significantly more difficult problem to solve. And if you go into Lost Epidemic and you look at the X-ray shots, it's like, it's not the highest quality. You can kind of tell it's like the same asset used over and over and over again. But once you add the complexity of the shots in the later games, then every single shot will need a custom X-ray shot. It's technically feasible, but my goodness, the amount of effort that would take, it would be crazy. Maybe that's one of those things that AI can solve in the future, like an X-ray AI or something. It's like what does the penetration look like underneath? But as a thing to build from scratch, from the ground up, it's highly unlikely that the fans would want to prioritize that over other things. And so, while technically feasible, I wouldn't expect to see it. If everyone really, really, really wanted to see it, we can definitely put the effort in there, and add that. It'll take away from other things though. So you got to pick where the priority lands. And for me, I kind of figure story scenes. Sex scenes number one. If you could put resources into sex scenes, that's where it should go. Story scenes number two, and then the sprite work and the sets. Those are high priority things that those need to look good. Toward the bottom of the list are going to be things like the in-game icons. Not as important. I would put the X-ray mode on the low end of things that the resources should be put to.
Great. Thank you for clearing that up for us. Moving on to a next question from X. We got Peter Sinead. Hope I said that right. If I didn't, sorry, Peter. You mentioned earlier in this podcast, and I believe have mentioned previously, the possibility of having a female main character. So this user writes that they would love to see Ariana from TGO as a main character. And if you are planning to do that, would you do only linear storylines, or are you planning that there could potentially be something with more choices that have impact in the story?
It's definitely something I would like to do. It would be such a big departure from kind of what we've been doing that I worry it would, there's going to be the vast majority of the audience is going to want a male main character. So if we were to create something where Ariana was a main character, it would almost have to be a second game, or a game being developed in simultaneously to a game that kind of fits the style that we've become accustomed to. I like that idea, and in branching out from there, I like the idea of introducing different types of kinks and stuff that just don't appear in the other games because the audience just wouldn't be into it. But maybe drawing in a new audience, not by doing something different, like instead of what we've been doing, but doing it in addition to what we've been doing. And I've been really thinking and trying to find a way to, at the very least, do a comic series or something that's kind of developed on the side that kind of starts to expand what we can do and what we can offer. I think it would be awesome to make a solo game with Ariana and doing her thing, or to even create brand new characters, like a video game or something where it's multiple male characters hooking up with one female character. Like, you're never going to see that in the mainline games because, I mean, that's not what the audience wants. But there might be a new audience out there that would be interested in that type of a thing. So it might be a way to expand the lore, bring in some new fans. But the mainline games, at least for the foreseeable future, will probably always be a male protagonist hooking up with female characters, at least in the mainline story.
I suppose it's just so hard, isn't it? It could be such a departure from what there already is. And
there's fan expectations, right? And so you have to, if the next Call of Duty game comes out and it's a real-time strategy game, it could be the best real-time strategy game ever made. You're still going to piss off a lot of people.
I don't know. I think that might be a good move for them right now.
Yeah, for me it would, because I don't like Call of Duty, and I'd rather play a real-time strategy. So if Call of Duty wants to bring me in as a fan, they'll make their next game real-time strategy, right? Is that a smart move? No, that's not a smart move. But if they want me, they'll do it. But let's say that who owns Call of Duty? Is it EA? Who is it?
Activision.
Well, whoever it is, Activision. They could make a new IP, right? That caters to me. So I have no problem making a new story or a comic or a movie or something just the main line, will stay the same.
Just a slight move on. We're gonna go back to Daz, and from X, Kajari Art. He's just asking how you got so good at rendering in Daz. Do you have any tips for anyone? We haven't actually talked about it. Yeah, you got any like top tips for other people out there doing artwork in Daz?
Yeah, I'll say that. Well, one, I got good at it by just doing it thousands of times. But I guess a tip I would say is you should put just as much thought into the lighting of the scene as you do anything else. The lighting of the scene, your camera angle, your depth of focus, and where the camera's focusing, and all of that stuff is just as important as the content that you're trying to, portray. So if you put all this effort into creating this sex pose or sex animation, and then you don't bother to light it or frame it in an interesting way, it's you're only 1/3 of the way there. You can't look at lighting and your where you place the camera. You can't look at that stuff as secondary or stuff that you just do when you're done with the main pose. All that stuff is equally as important as the pose itself or the animation itself. And that's a lot of, there's been a lot of people getting into animation over the last 5 or 6 years or so. And a lot of adult games out there, I see the same problems over and over again. It's like you have a scene where a lot of effort was put into posing something, but then it's clearly like there was literally zero thought putting into how the scene is lit. It's like basically, can you see the person's face? Good, then that's good enough. It's like no, no, it's not good enough. Please go back, think hard, and be very deliberate with how you frame your shots and how you light your scene. So yeah, that's my tip. If you're thinking of it as something secondary, you're doing it wrong. It's just as primary as the animation itself.
It's very cinematography.
Yeah. Put thought into it. You'll like the way it looks in the end.
Billy, are you muted?
Sorry, we can edit that out, right? NLT, this next question's from our very own Staka, and you can imagine where this question may go, but when will we see the first Fuda character in the NLT verse?
I personally am not opposed. I'm not opposed to almost anything. But again, this goes back to the Ariana thing. If the next Doom game was a Barbie dress-up game, it could be the best Barbie dress-up game in the world. It will piss off everybody. So, again, if you want to make a Barbie dress-up game, then do it on the side. So, yeah, could there be a division, the NLT Fuda division one day? Maybe. You never know. But you're probably never going to see a Fuda character in a mainline game, or at least you'll probably never have sex with one. Or if there is, maybe it's optional. I could see it being optional, but again, probably not a wise choice to go that direction at this point, at least in the mainline stuff.
Fair.
Very fair. Yeah. We have a question from YouTube, which is Jank. I'm not going to say the rest of your name. I'm sorry. I would have butchered the hell out of that.
Jankit Thunaran.
Yeah, there you go. And we had somebody else also ask this question as well. How did it all start when it came to like Lost Epidemic? When you were sitting down and first coming up with it, like, did you just wake up one morning and go, "I'm going to do this," or where did that come from?
I guess with Lost Epidemic, it was like I was searching and searching and searching for a good adult game to play. And I kept getting disappointed over and over and over again. And I'd be like, "Oh, come on, people! You got this aspect right, but you're missing this aspect. You're doing that right. You're not doing this right." And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I could do this myself. It's like, if you be the change you want to see in the world. So that was my motivation to get started with Lust Epidemic. And then, as a creative person, pretty much anything I've done in my life, uh, from a hobby standpoint, I've done it because I want to see it. It's something I either wish existed or wish existed differently, or I want to see my version of it. I don't do art for the recognition. I definitely didn't do it for the money. I did it because I wanted to see what the end result could look like. And with Lust Epidemic, it was the same thing. I wanted to make the game that I really wish I could have played. And so that's basically how it came around. I guess from a technical standpoint, there was things I had to learn. So with Daz, I was making comics to learn Daz. That was a good way to learn Daz, because it's kind of like, you're doing a lot of renders. You're figuring out how to frame things and stuff. So that was good practice. And then, I fiddled around with RPG Maker a lot, and then when I finally came to the point where I knew I had the skill set to pull it off, and I wanted to see what it could be, that's when Lust Epidemic started to take form.
Why did you settle on like the RPGM? Was it because of the gameplay aspect of it? Because we spoke to Joriel and he started with that and he got annoyed with it and then went to Renpai.
Technically, I started with Unity. But and I actually learned a lot. Like, I was actually getting pretty good at it, but it just wasn't reliable enough. And RPG Maker has been polished over decades, and the community is huge. And I said, if you're gonna make a game, and you want it to just work, it's like the feature creep side of me wanted, go to Unreal, go to Unity, and it's like, well, no, get something that has an active community, that is bug free, that it has wide support, something that will work, and yet you could rely on, and that will be simple. It's like you could create processes around this engine that will produce a quality product. And so I was like, this is the path to go. So I abandoned Unity, went to RPG Maker, and I think it was the right choice. I kind of pride myself in having a game that you could just download, play, and run. And the way that happens is by don't bite off more than you can chew. And the RPG Maker is a digestible engine. If you're getting into making games, if you're a good artist, you can take any tool and make something great from it. Don't overthink your tool. Be sure that you can do what you want to do, and then when you're to that point, then move forward and get it done. It's very easy to want to aim higher, especially when it comes to a video game engine. But yeah, RPG Maker is a great tool. Now, having somebody be frustrated with RPG Maker and going to Renpai, I guess, I could see that. Renpai is probably an even easier tool than our RPG Maker. I give it a hard time because I think it's lacking in features that I would personally want to see. But if that's the tool for you, and that's where you're comfortable, obviously you can make a great game in Renpai. And there are plenty of them out there. So yeah, don't overthink your engine too much. Although, having said that, I am in the middle of thinking about engine changes, or at the very least some process changes with Daz and stuff. So it's a tightrope, I guess. It's like yeah, don't bite off more than you can chew, but also take a bite that's big enough for what you're capable of doing.
Take a good mouthful.
Right, yeah.
Well,
Don't
you know,
undersell yourself if you at my level at this point, maybe it's time for a change. If you're just getting into it, yeah. If you're just getting into video game development, you jump straight into Unreal. I mean, you can be wary though. You're gonna have some issues. It's not gonna be easy.
yeah. Well, you didn't just get the RPG engine to play straight away, did you? You had to go and mod and tinker it and play around with it. So,
Oh yeah. It's been modded a lot, obviously. It's very different than most. But if someone says it's a game made in RPG Maker, you're instantly going to have a certain thought in your head of what it must look like. And we're staying away from that look, obviously. So, yeah. Again, if it's not the tool, it's how you use it.
we will end the questions there. We didn't get to all of them. There was a lot of questions. It's been already 2 hours, so I don't want to keep NLT all this time. There is an update to come out tomorrow, which he has got to still finish off. So we do have a few bits of news and a couple of announcements. So shall we start with the demos, NLT? Do you want to take it away with the webmaster and then what's to come with that?
We now have if you have your own webpage and you want to host Symphony of the Serpent as a playable game on your site, there's now going to be a download link. So if you go to NLT-media.com, you scroll down the page a bit. On the right-hand side, there is a demo for Symphony of the Serpent. Also, the Genesis World Treasure Naughty and Lust Epidemic, but more recently, we've added Symphony of the Serpent. Will be updated twice a month for probably the next 3 or 4 months with new versions. So if anyone who's listening who has a webpage or you have a site you go to that hosts games, let them know Symphony of the Serpent is now downloadable for free to host on your site. It's not the latest version; it's obviously an older version, but it will be updated continuously, just like the more, the latest versions. So it's an opportunity for anyone who wants to download the source code and host it on their site.
And if you don't have a website and you just want to play the demo, what you can do is go to Patreon, sign up. You don't have to buy a subscription. Go to nltmedia.net, sign in with your Patreon login, and then you'll play a demo, which is also hosted on the .net.
Yep.
So that covers that one. Steam this year has had a lot of news about it. MasterCard and Visa have been a fun time as well when it comes to adult creation. Early access looked like a no. Now it looks like it's still possible. This is still your aim, correct?
Yeah, not like the way that Steam had kind of set themselves up. It sounded like we were going to have to release the game as a full product, knowing full well that we were going to add bonus content. And we've been told to just do that as a DLC. And I'm like, well, it's not DLC; it's part of the main game. But we were basically going to be forced to release the game without the bonus content and then release the bonus content as DLC, which a lot of people probably would just do that. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is release the game as early access, and then when the game comes out as a full game, you get everything with one download. There's no DLC to download. It's just the game, and that's it. It's sounding now like we can do it that way. So the plan for now, unless things change, is the game will be released in early access once the main story is done. So once the game goes in early access, if you're only interested in the main story, you can purchase it on Steam and play it, and you'll get the full experience from a story perspective. Then over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6 months, however long, we will continue to develop bonus content, and then we will take it out of early access once all the bonus content's done, and then the game will be released as a full finished product, not a half finished product. So yeah, that's the plan for now.
And Steam will see Symphony of the Serpent before early access as well, because there's a chance of a demo.
Yeah, demo. So we will release the demo that we're releasing now. We will also release on Steam. I don't believe we're going to be able to update it at the same pace, although I guess we'll look into that with the changes that they've made to what you're allowed to do with adult games. I don't know if we can. We'll update the demo, but yeah, we'll put a demo on Steam early next year that you can download. So you can either join Patreon as a free member, log into NLT-media.net, and you can play Symphony 7 for free, or you can go to Steam and download it as a demo and play it there for free. So yeah, we'll have that option, and then if we're allowed to, if they let us, we'll update it. If not, it'll just stay as a demo until early access comes out.
And finally, to wrap up, or as the last piece before we sign off here, fully complete Symphony of the Serpent, at least for the top tier patrons, you're most likely looking at end of 2026, early 2027. Is either or likely? Is that the best kind of way to ballpark completion? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I would say the main storyline could finish at the end of 2026, but I think it could also finish as late as like summer 2027 too. So that's a wide range. I would say don't expect anything anytime soon, obviously, but at the same time, don't expect anything in 2028. It'll be done before 2028. So yeah, if you're trying to put expectations into your head, let's just say Q1 of 2027. Just think of it like that, and maybe it'll come early, and maybe it'll come late, but nothing's set in stone yet.
That's perfect. Hopefully that answers a lot of the questions. NLT, thank you for being here. It's been great to have you. It's been 2 hours. You can get back to chapter 18 of Symphony of the Serpent, and then also editing and finishing off chapter 17's bonus content. Is there anything else you would like to say at the start of 26 to the community?
Happy New Year, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas, although maybe you already had a Merry Christmas. I don't know when this is going out. Wait, this is going out January 2nd, right?
Yes.
So yeah. I hope you had a good New Year and Christmas. If not, there's nothing I can do about it now. Sorry. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, Davey, that was fun having NLT for the second time with us. I enjoyed our time with him. Lots of questions, lots of talk about the future and where things are at. What do you think? How did you think that went?
Amazing. He's getting more comfortable. That's the one thing I will say. And the other thing is we could just talk to him for hours and hours. We spoke before the podcast. We were talking about other bits and bobs, but yeah, that could have gone on and on and on. But he's a busy man with lots to do, so we can't keep him forever. As much as we'd love to just sit there and pick his brain about everything when it comes to this, it's include the industry as well. We didn't even touch on Star Wars and stuff, which I know he'd have gone on a whole big rant about or something. So
we'll have to do an episode titled NLT Fixes Star Wars and just pick his brain about what he thinks about everything with that universe, because he does have some takes for sure.
Yes, and we'll see how the Star Wars fans react. I don't care about Star Wars, so I won't care at all, but I'm sure other people will.
And I'm in a very specific lane on Instagram right now where I'm getting a lot of Star Wars basically meme reels about one of the kind of obscure podcasting characters from episode 1. It's just so ridiculously stupid. Yeah, maybe we'll do that at some point.
We're doing an off-topic episode.
Yeah, we can get all the off-topic questions.
Yeah, talk about cars, talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, you can talk about cars because I don't really know much about vehicles myself. I know that's a big thing for you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Big-ish.
I grew up with Fast and Furious and Need for Speed, so
They're still making those movies, right?
Apparently so. Yeah, When so as soon as Paul Walker left the series, I was a little bit I don't care now.
It was a big one, right?
Yeah, rest in peace to him. Getting back on track, we still have the casual catch up to do. We haven't forgotten. I know it's in the wrong order this episode, but NLT kind of takes priority in that sense. So we have the V.47111 update, which is now available for all you casual tier people, and it starts off in the hospital with a certain Nepo baby who does drugs and has no real consequences from them at all.
I mean, it could be what happens when you take mushrooms if you have a bad time, because that's evidently what he did. We're obviously talking about Bacco, which then leads to us doing a little bit of fetch questing to get another solo scene with Olivia, which was, to me, fine. I mean, I'm still waiting for like a really good scene with her, as we talked about in our tier list. I'm very optimistic for the character.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I feel like you're higher on Olivia than me, so you're gonna have more like more into it. You know, you're gonna care more than me. But yeah, it's a good scene. It's weird though, right? Because we play these games very differently now, so we view the scenes a little bit differently. It's a very different mindset. It'd be interesting to let you just hear from you guys, you patrons, what you think of each scene as it goes out. Maybe I could make a post about doing the casual update in the Patreon, and we get some people's reactions to it before we start recording in the future. That might be a good addition to have to this segment, just to see what everyone else thought about these things. If we're talking into the void and being wrong, or maybe we're bang on the drum and we're matching what the community thinks.
Yeah, we could always pull comments from the spoiler chat of what people think as well, in advance, and bring those to our little conversation. Yeah. And I mean, with this casual update, I mean, there's a couple big things that happen, but we do want to keep it kind of brief, because this, as you mentioned, the interview with NLT very much bloated this episode. Clearly, moving forward with this game, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of escalation, mainly perpetrated by some demons and some chaotic characters. So in this case, we have, a Grat causing some mischief that's resulted in firebomb throwing and another fight, right?
Yeah, we have the fight in the red light district with some snatchers who are, I don't know if they're like under the influence of Agrat. I don't quite remember. It's a little while ago. Also, we're now post Christmas, because it's now the 30th of December, and we're both a little bit food combed out and stuff like that. So our minds are probably not quite as sharp as they used to be. Yeah, I didn't actually like that fight that much. I didn't like it because I didn't like how easy it was to cheese. And I use the word cheese as like I don't know, it's a term from like World of Warcraft or like Destiny or whatever, where you win a fight without really doing it the intended way. You do it like an easier bypass sort of way, and effectively you just make Ethan run around in a circle if you want, and eventually all of the enemies will go into their own firebombs and die, which made me wish they were a little bit smarter. But I think the smarter you make them, the harder they are going to be to deal with, but also it's going to be more and more coding, and it's going to be harder for us to test. And so I can understand the way they are. They move in very distinct patterns, and you can work it out after time. But yeah, I think what I'm getting from the fights as we start moving on is the more unique ones, like the lion fight and the big serpent fight earlier in the game. Those are the ones that I think are what the fighting should have been. And I think the more like casually dropped in fights, outside of the ones that like repeatable where you can get money and stuff like that, they're kind of taking away from that experience a little bit. I feel like if the fightings were a little bit more like once every few updates there was a boss fight, it probably would have felt a little bit better. But I know there's a lot more to do with them. We've said it nearly every episode, but we'll have to find out what we can do to tidy them up. But that's the way I'm going with them. I still enjoy them. I enjoy the puzzle of them, but that fight felt a little bit flat for me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna brute force this puzzle just to continue chugging through the content. Not that I dislike the fights. It's just kind of like, okay, they're here. It's not necessarily something that I'm here for. So I'll play on easy and I'll brute force just use all my weapons, which is kind of cheesing it, but we're not necessarily save scumming,
Yeah.
which I know NLT didn't want as a part of the fighting, because it's something that you can do in traditional RPG games is just save before like a harder boss, and then you just reset if you lose,
Yeah.
and then continue to just have your hair go gray as you continue to lose if you're not prepared. After this whole fiasco in the red light district, we head into the ruins with Nia, and we get a scene where a stone statue comes to life, and I hated it.
So immediately I watched that scene and I was like, that's because I was like, oh, I wonder who animated that. Did Ramsey do the girl turning from? No, did they do the whole like the girl turning from stone into normal and then going on? And Ramsey like, no, I just done like the touch up bits. NLT done the rest of it. That's actually really cool. And I thought it was really cool and really interesting. And then I came to you and you were immediately like, nah, I hated it. And I was like, huh, that's different.
I don't know if it's because we just can't there wasn't an option to bring in another character based on how things were progressing or whatever, but I just wasn't a fan. The model's bald.
I was going to ask.
It's not for me.
Right.
It's
That's
just
fair.
not for me. And it's not going to be for everyone. I don't expect every single scene to be catered to my interests. And that's fine. It just wasn't my thing. I wish it was more another solo scene. Like, you don't have to necessarily push a threesome, but I guess we're adding some of the fantasy type elements here, which, is something that some people want and some people come to NLT games for. So respect to you guys if that's what you like and that's what you're getting. But yeah, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, I suppose it's just Agrat flexing your muscles again, isn't it? Really, and showing off in that sense, which I do understand. At some point, we end up with Layla near the nuke room, and Impusa and Agrat are there. We lose the Oracle, we lose Impusa, and then Agrat and Impusa combine their powers, and the nuke is gone. And we don't know where it's gone. We just understand that it's gone. And we also then get a scene. Oh, we get the scene with Layla before, don't we? Before them two turn up, because she is banged on the nuke, which is but I never thought about that.
Yeah, Layla's again not one of my favorites, but just in terms of the conflict with the nuke being stolen, because it's been a fairly big plot point, right? We had that fairly decent reveal of the weapon when Ethan found the information in the Snatchers base area.
Yeah.
So obviously this is one of the major plot points of the game, because you have big players involved in wanting to be in possession of this, because you have the Snatchers, you now have the two demons. I don't know, was it Tony or Amira who knows this?
Amira knew it, and then Ethan pressed her into deploying the army or the National Guard or whatever it was, and then eventually the police. Well, the police went there, and then the army came in to take over to help guard it, and then Agrat and Impusa have been like, "We'll just take it ourselves anyway because we can, because they can't stop us because we can teleport."
Yeah.
We had an interesting discussion, and I don't remember exactly. We had an interesting discussion about the ability of them being able to teleport in the story group, and we were trying to work out how they can teleport, and they can teleport into any room, if they teleport into a room they don't know, it's dangerous. So they don't often do it, which is why they didn't teleport into the nuke room. They hacked the door and went in through the door. But once they've been in the room, they can then teleport back into it, I think is the gist of it. I'm sure one of the story group people will correct me on that, or one of the lore guardians at some point. But I think that was like, because I was like, why don't they just teleport into the room earlier in the game? And they were like, you can't just teleport into the room because they don't know where it is or what it is or whatever. They could, teleport into the nuke by mistake, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting caveat. But yeah, nuke is stolen. And then we also have lost Impusa and the Oracle, which sets up the enemy becoming our foe, as in, or the enemy of my enemy is my friend, which is the Serpent.
Yeah.
There's a common interest between the Serpent and Ethan, and now the Serpent is the guide character, and that leads to some older school gameplay, moving some blocks to do some puzzles and avoiding some floor traps. Felt a little bit more Trigonaria. I feel like we talked about the fighting earlier. If there was a little bit more of like the puzzly stuff, and you'd done like lots of little puzzles, and then it led to like a big boss fight, that might have been the better flow for me personally as a player. Other people might have different opinions, but I think that would be the way. But also, you need to teach fight mechanics. It's really hard to teach fight mechanics without having like practice fights. So it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. But going through all the puzzles, going past all of the blocks, leads to the big reveal of this update, and that is again the story scene. And that's,
you want to say it?
Yeah, that's well. My problem is I'm trying to remember how to pronounce the shield. You do it.
Oh, hold on. Did you write it down in the?
It's
chat?
It's in the chat. Yeah.
The Aegis shield.
I think so.
I mean, which we have seen has the ability to deflect, right? Because we saw Ethan use the shield in a previous update, and it turned those Egyptian guys.
When he used it in ancient Egypt, and he turned them to stone in the prison.
Which, I mean, if it wasn't a little kind of hinted at before, we have our little mischievous Impusa resurrecting Medusa.
Yeah, which I did a little bit of Googling, is apparently a mythological Gorgon and a sister of one of three. So, are we going to see Medusa's sisters at some point? I didn't know Medusa had sisters.
I didn't mean either. The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know. I like how Ethan immediately covered his eyes in that scene. It's a good touch. It's a very well shot scene. Like the cinematics of it. I really enjoyed it. And we also get the scene from the trailer.
Yeah, shout out to Just, who's a member of the Lore Guardians. He's been keeping tabs on the shots in the trailer showing up in the game.
Yeah.
As like he was doing that in the Genesis Order.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's kind of like a good continuity thing to stay on top of. So just wanted to call that out.
No, 100%. I also want to call out a little conversation I had with Sumatra, because Sumatra got given that set for that room, and he effectively just polished it off and then didn't really make any changes, and then gave it to me to build. And then I got handed it, and it has no back walls. And I was like, it has no walls on it. So I'm really struggling where to decide where the ceiling is, because if it had back walls and no front walls, I could then show it's really high up in a cave or something. It was really hard to display that area. And me and Sumatra were talking about it. He was like, yeah, he goes, I wish I just spoke to NLT and was like, can we try and add some stuff? But because it was already in the trailer, both of us were like, we can't touch it, because you can't change something. If one thing changed in that scene, people would notice. But yeah, that was a really complicated area to build. I was a nightmare.
And-
Trying to get it so Aoife could walk in all of the little corners and not waste
Right.
that room
Yep.
took forever, but it's all worth it.
The areas right now are feeling, as we go deeper, are feeling much more larger in scale, right? Like they feel bigger.
Yeah. It's really weird because I get to see what Sumatra designs ahead of time, but I don't get to see how it's going to play with the game engine until I have it in my mind, in my hands. And then from that, I've got to try and make the best of it, like try and use as much of that area as possible and, you know, really maximize it. Sometimes I'm just like, that's really annoying because the pole's in the way. And I'm like, I don't want a pole there because I want to be able to let Ethan walk through a certain space, but I can't. And it's fun. It's a little bit like a puzzle, really. It's trying to like optimize it in somewhat. But yeah, maybe game 5 we have like our own little separate chat, me, Sumatra, and NLT, and we start designing areas with, because my one worry with some of these areas is I don't know how intuitive they are for the player.
Right.
And if the player's like struggles to go around the map, like in the desert and stuff, it's pretty obvious, right? You can't walk through a tree and stuff like that. But like when there's like little steps and little walls, like what can you step up and what can't you step up?
Yeah.
And trying to indicate that to the player is quite hard. That might be me thinking way too deep, but it's just me being honest.
Hey, you need to be able to have these types of thoughts when you're doing this type of work, right? I think it's important. You have to be reflective and question things, because if you become complacent, then your product's probably not going to evolve or be very good, right?
Exactly.
So good thoughts, I would say, to have.
Good thoughts.
On your end.
Indeed.
That's mainly it for the chapter. I mean, I think that's a lot of stuff to take in terms of where the plot's moving. I mean, again, I've said before, I know what's going to happen, but at the same time, do I remember everything? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I can go in and check if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I think it's more fun just discussing, because, you know, if we also go back and are thinking about the previous casual update after, you know, a few weeks, maybe what is it, 2 months?
Yeah.
After it comes out, forget. You kind of forget a little bit.
You gotta forget a little bit. It's interesting to have another character with, you know, we're not guaranteed they're gonna have a sexual content, but there's potential with Medusa. You know, she's a female character, and you know, NLT hasn't designed her to be ugly, has she? She's rather good looking in that. So I was going to mention a pinup, but that's technically in the next update for you casual guys.
Spoiler.
There's a pinup of Medusa. She's got clothes on. It's in the room. It's just a nice little photo, really. It's quite nice. But yeah, so you've got like a load more extra characters outside of the story characters and the harem and the side women.
Yes. And I think that's good, because then if things sort of continue in the same universe and the fantasy historical like elements continue to play a part in things, they can always come back, right? Instead of limiting yourself to one game. If you're going to, you know, be a quote unquote traditionalist with how the harem stuff works, having Athena now, Medusa, those two characters, I think, can move across other games, potentially a Grat too, just because she's more of a wild card.
It'll be really cool and interesting to see like a character like Medusa or Athena have sexual scenes with other female characters in the game, but not have a scene with Ethan, so they're not in the harem as such, right? So then they're free to go into the next game and be like the Madeline protagonist or the Lillian or something, and then become that harem character. We saw it a little bit with Madeline from Lost Epidemic into Treasure Nadia. She was in the background, she was referenced, and then she had an appearance at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then she leads into it being one of the main harem ones. So I feel like Athena or Medusa has that chance for sure.
One of the things people have suggested is multiple male characters that aren't a clone of the main character. And you could, I mean, we have God, and I'm not saying that anyone wants to see content with God, but an idea could be Ethan and God end up having a scene together with, I don't know, Athena or one of the demons. Could be something that NLT can do. You could also add God's, ability to create things as part of the scene for another layer of the fantasy element. Could be fun to add that into the game later on, maybe even as bonus content, like instead of working towards bonus scenes with this character, you actually have to do some quests, and then you get some scenes where God's doing the fucking or something. I don't know. We'll have to see when we get there.
It'll be interesting to see what the community wants in that sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also you're then leading a little bit more into like the old school Treasure of Nadia stuff where there was like triple Henry at some point and it was all three Henrys on Sophia. Like, there's enough mystical characters and power in this game and universe to make stuff like that happen.
Mm-hmm. We're I mean, overall with the game, like things have, like I said, we're progressing, and I think we're kind of reaching like a third part of the game, because lots has happened when you think about it with the virus, with Cleopatra and Athena, and now Medusa. Like that's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we're definitely in the middle of it now, right in the midst of it, and dealing with some of that. It's the more I thought about the interview with NLT, and he said about how the way he writes mysteries and the way he wants reveals and changes, and there's hints in this game if you're paying attention. I sat there over Christmas just going, what have I missed? Because we play these games a lot. We replay these games.
Yeah.
And, I'm dyslexic and I can't read very well. And, I can read. Stuff just doesn't go in my head and stay there. And I'm like, what have I missed here?
Right.
Because, immediately he said about, the Sophia stuff being hinted at and, the Aaliyah stuff being hinted at in Treasure of Nadia. My mum went back, well, yeah, of course it is. It's there in, the little newspaper articles and stuff like that. You should probably be able to clock that one together.
Yes.
Not too bad. I'm just wondering what I'm missing in this one. Maybe we need some more we made a newspaper flyer stuff going around the city.
I mean, that was something that I think a lot of people enjoyed from the previous games, that I do think he is slowly bringing back in with the hints and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Because the tidbits of information can be quite revealing, and I agree with you. Because with Treasure of Nadia, he was like, everything's in front of you, and I was like, what? And then eventually, it came to light.
Yeah.
But it'll be exciting where things go regardless. I think the plot of this game is it has a good depth to it. There's lots more to come, and it's just a matter of polishing some things up as we reach the second half of the game. And I would say overall pretty good update.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Definitely much. It's been I know we've recorded it over a 2-week span at this point.
Mm.
But I'm sitting here halfway through the edit of that, so the interview's fresh in my head. So it's been very good, and I hope people will enjoy this interview. NLT said a lot. There's a lot to go in there. I spoke with Danko about the AI stuff, and Danko was like, I would avoid the AI topic. And I was like, well, NLT's spoken about it, so we'll see what the community reacts to that one.
Yeah.
If you're either going to like it or you dislike it, here's what it is, I didn't disagree with anything NLT said, and speaking to Ramsey about it, he found it pretty on the nose as well. So
he's going to make the games that he wants to make, regardless of what tool he's using. So, I mean, there's already been other adult game developers that are utilizing AI to either like finish products or whatever. It's just a matter of ensuring the quality is there, I think, right? So
yeah, not taking away the soul, like he said.
So more to come. Second year of the Love Potion podcast, as we're kind of, I think, wrapping up this very long episode. So if you've listened to the end, we appreciate you spending your time with us. If you have feedback,
write lobster in the comments so we know.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, right. Lobster or mushrooms in the in the comments, just as a theme for the story chapter. But please leave us comments on YouTube, replies on, I guess, NLT's X page when these go public. Obviously, our patrons are aware of this, and we have a channel dedicated in the Discord. So if you are listening and you're on Patreon, but you're not on the Discord yet, please join us and engage us in some conversation. We just had a new member join. I think Lil Learn.
Yeah.
Relatively newer member from the 27th of December. He said he recently only just started listening to the first episode and mentioned how we're not some unreachable figures. We are just two guys in a Discord server.
Exactly.
That you can actually reach out to. So please reach out to us in whatever way you see fit. And I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. We will catch you next time. Until then, hit like, hit subscribe, and peace out.
Bye.